I'm standing in a courtroom, watching my stepmom's face turn white as the judge reads the verdict. Her perfectly manicured hands are shaking. Her lawyer is frantically whispering to her. And me? I'm smiling. Because after 2 years of her stealing from me, manipulating my father, and trying to erase me from my own family's legacy, I finally outsmarted her. She thought she won when she got my father to change his will. She thought she was clever, forging documents and hiding assets. She thought I was just a naive 23-year-old who'd roll over and accept being cut out of my inheritance. She was wrong. And today, she's about to lose everything. But let me back up and tell you how we got here, because this story, it's got more twists than a pretzel. There's betrayal, forged documents, private investigators, hidden bank accounts, and a plot so calculated that it took me 2 years to unravel it. This is the story of how my stepmom tried to steal my inheritance and how I took her down. Before we dive into this wild ride, do me a huge favor. Hit that subscribe button right now, because this channel is dedicated to true family drama stories where justice actually gets served. Smash that like button if you're ready for a stepmom drama, legal battles, and the sweetest revenge you've ever heard. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. New York, Texas, California. Maybe you're up late at night and can't sleep. Let me know. And if you've ever dealt with a difficult step-parent, drop that in the comments too. You're not alone. Grab your popcorn because this story is long and absolutely worth it. All right, let's get started. My name is Jessica Morgan. I'm 25 now, but this story really starts when I was 21. I grew up in Austin, Texas, in a beautiful house in the hills. My family wasn't crazy rich, but we were comfortable. My dad, Robert Morgan, owned a successful construction company. He'd built it from the ground up over 30 years. Started as a carpenter, worked his way up, eventually owned the whole business. Classic American success story. My mom, Patricia, was a teacher, elementary school. She loved her job, loved her students, loved our family. She was the heart of our home, the one who made everything warm and welcoming. I'm an only child. Some people think that makes you spoiled, but honestly, it just meant I was really close with my parents. We did everything together. Family dinners every night, weekend hikes in the hill country, road trips to Colorado every summer, game nights, movie marathons. We were happy, really, genuinely happy. Dad worked hard, but he always made time for family. He taught me how to use power tools when I was 12, took me to construction sites and showed me how buildings were made. He wanted me to understand the business, even though I was more interested in art and design. "Doesn't matter what you do in life, Jess," he'd say, "but you should understand where your family's money comes from. Understand the work that goes into it." Mom was the one who encouraged my artistic side. She'd take me to art museums, sign me up for painting classes, help me with my portfolio when I applied to colleges. I got into UT Austin for graphic design. Dad was proud. Mom cried happy tears at my high school graduation. Life was good. Life was perfect. And then Mom got sick. It started with headaches. Mom thought it was stress from work. She was teaching second grade, and you know how demanding that can be. But the headaches got worse. Then came the dizziness, the nausea, the confusion. We made her go to the doctor. They ran tests, more tests, brain scans. Brain cancer, stage 4, aggressive, inoperable. The words didn't make sense at first. How could my healthy, vibrant 48-year-old mom have terminal brain cancer? But she did. The doctors gave her 6 months to a year. She made it 8 months. Those 8 months were the hardest of my life. Watching someone you love deteriorate, knowing there's nothing you can do. It's torture. Dad was devastated, completely broken. He took a leave of absence from work to take care of Mom full-time. We both did. I took a semester off from UT to be with her. We made the most of the time we had. Mom made lists of things she wanted to do. We checked off as many as we could. A trip to the coast, Thanksgiving with all the extended family, Christmas at home with just the three of us. In her final weeks, when she was mostly bedridden, she made me and Dad promise her things. To me, keep making art, baby. Don't give up on your dreams. You're so talented. To Dad, take care of yourself, Rob. Don't let grief consume you. You're allowed to be happy again someday. You're allowed to move on. To both of us, take care of each other. You two are everything to me. She died on a Tuesday morning in February. I was holding her hand. Dad was holding her other hand. She just stopped breathing. Peaceful, quiet. And our family was never the same. After Mom died, Dad fell into a deep depression. He went back to work eventually, but he wasn't the same. He was going through the motions. His employees noticed. His friends noticed. I noticed. He stopped eating properly, lost weight, stopped exercising, stopped doing the things he loved. Our house felt empty and cold without Mom. Dad couldn't stand being there. Everything reminds me of her, he'd say. I tried to help. I'd come over and cook dinner, force him to eat, clean the house, try to get him to talk. But grief is a strange thing. Everyone processes it differently. Dad was drowning in it. About 6 months after Mom died, Dad started going to a grief support group at the local community center. His therapist recommended it. It might help to talk to people who understand, the therapist said. I thought it was a good idea. Dad needed community. He needed to know he wasn't alone in his grief. The support group met every Thursday evening. Dad started going religiously. He said it helped, said he was making friends, meeting people who got it. I was happy for him. I wanted him to heal. What I didn't know was that at that grief support group, Dad met someone. Her name was Victoria, and she was about to ruin everything. Dad mentioned Victoria casually at first. There's a woman in my grief group, he said over dinner one night. Victoria, she lost her husband 2 years ago. Cancer too. She understands what I'm going through. I was glad Dad had someone to talk to, someone who got it. Then he mentioned her again, and again. Victoria said the hardest part is the silence in the house. Victoria recommended this book about grief. Victoria thinks I should try meditation. After about a month, Dad asked if he could invite Victoria to dinner. I'd like you to meet her, he said. She's been a good friend. I said yes. Of course I said yes. If this woman was helping my dad heal, I wanted to meet her and thank her. Victoria came to dinner on a Saturday night. I'll never forget the first time I saw her. She was striking. Late 30s, blonde hair, clearly dyed, perfectly done makeup, wearing a dress that seemed too fancy for a casual dinner. She had this smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Jessica, she said, hugging me like we were old friends, your father has told me so much about you. You're even prettier than he described. Something about her felt off, too friendly, too eager. But I pushed the feeling down. I was being paranoid. I was being protective. Dad deserved to have friends. During dinner, Victoria talked a lot about herself, her late husband, her difficult life, how grief had changed her. I was married to Charles for 15 years, she said. He was a doctor, very successful. We had a beautiful life. And then cancer took him away, just like that. I lost everything. She teared up. Dad reached over and squeezed her hand. I know exactly how you feel, Dad said. Red flag number 1. She made everything about herself. Even Dad's grief became about her grief. Red flag number 2. When I asked about her late husband's family, she got vague. Oh, we weren't close. His family never liked me. Red flag number 3. She asked a lot of questions about Dad's business. How many employees? How many projects? What was the annual revenue? Just curious, she said with that smile. I like to understand what my friends do. After she left, Dad asked what I thought. I tried to be diplomatic. I think she seems nice. But Dad, don't you think she was asking a lot of personal questions? She's just interested in my life, Dad said. That's what friends do. I know, but Jess, I know you're protective. I know you're worried about me. But Victoria has been through what I've been through. She understands. Please, just give her a chance. I wanted to argue, but I didn't want to upset Dad. He was finally starting to seem a little bit happier. So I said okay. That was my first mistake. After that dinner, Victoria became a constant presence in Dad's life. They were having coffee multiple times a week, going to movies, taking walks, attending the grief support group together. She's helping me heal, Dad said when I expressed concern about how much time they were spending together. 3 months after that first dinner, Dad told me they were dating. Dating? I was shocked. Dad, it's only been 9 months since Mom died. I know, he said quietly, but your mom told me I was allowed to move on. She wanted me to be happy. Yes, eventually, I said, but this feels fast, really fast. Age changes things, Jess, Dad said. I'm 55 years old. Victoria is 38. We're not kids. We know what we want. We know how short life is. 38? She was only 17 years older than me, closer to my age than to Dad's. Dad, don't you think that age gap is... Don't, Dad said firmly. Don't be ageist. Your mom was 5 years older than me and nobody cared. This is different, yes, but love doesn't have an age limit. I backed off, but I didn't like it. Victoria started sleeping over at the house. My mom's house. The house where Mom died less than a year ago. She started moving her things in. Slowly at first, a toothbrush, some clothes, then more clothes, then furniture. It just makes sense, Dad said. She's here all the time anyway. But Dad, this is Mom's house. Her things are still here. Her clothes are still in the closet. And Victoria is just taking over? Your mother is gone, Dad said, and his voice cracked. I loved her. I'll always love her. But she's gone, Jess, and I can't live in a museum to her memory. I have to move forward. He was right, in a way, but it felt wrong. It felt too fast. It felt like Mom was being erased. 6 months after they started dating, 1 year after Mom died, Dad proposed to Victoria. He didn't tell me beforehand. I found out when he called me excited and said, Jess, I have wonderful news. Victoria said yes, we're getting married. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. Married? Dad, it's only been 6 months since you met Victoria. When you know, Dad said. Victoria makes me happy. She takes care of me. She helps me remember that life is worth living. What about Mom? I said, and I was crying now. What about everything you and Mom built together? Your mother wanted me to be happy, Dad said, his voice hard. Why can't you want that too? I do want you to be happy, but this doesn't feel right. She doesn't feel right. Don't you think this is moving too fast? Jessica, I love you, but you need to accept this. Victoria is going to be my wife. She's going to be part of this family. I need you to try, for me. What could I say? If I kept pushing, I'd push Dad away, and he was all the family I had left. So I said congratulations. I said I was happy for him. I lied. The wedding was planned for 3 months later. Small ceremony, just family and close friends, at a venue in the hills overlooking Austin. Victoria wanted me to be a bridesmaid. I said no. I'll attend, I told Dad, but I can't stand up there and celebrate this. Dad was disappointed, but he accepted it. Those 3 months before the wedding, I tried to get to know Victoria better, tried to find something to like about her. But the more time I spent with her, the more I disliked her. She was manipulative. She'd say things to Dad that made him doubt himself, then twist it around to make it seem like she was helping him. She was controlling. She'd suggest what Dad should wear, what he should eat, who he should spend time with. She was isolating him. Slowly but surely, Dad saw less of his old friends, less of his coworkers outside of work, more of Victoria and her circle. And she was always asking about money, about the business, about Dad's investments, about his retirement accounts. "I just want to understand our future together," she'd say sweetly. I mentioned my concerns to Dad multiple times. "You're being paranoid," he'd say. "Victoria loves me. She's not after my money." "How do you know? What do you really know about her? Have you met her late husband's family? Have you verified her story?" "I don't need to verify anything," Dad snapped. "I trust her. That's what love is, trust." Famous last words. The wedding was beautiful. I'll give Victoria that. She had good taste, or at least expensive taste. The venue was gorgeous, the flowers were perfect, the food was excellent. The whole thing probably cost close to $50,000. Dad paid for all of it, of course. "It's my wedding," he said. "I'm happy to pay." I wore a black dress, technically appropriate for a formal evening wedding, but everyone knew what it meant. I was in mourning, not for the death of my mom, though that was part of it, but for the death of my father's good judgment. The ceremony was short. Dad looked happy, really happy. For the first time since Mom died, he looked alive. Victoria looked triumphant. That's the only word for it. She looked like she'd won something. When the officiant said, "You may kiss the bride," I had to look away. At the reception, Victoria made a speech. "I know some people thought this was too fast," she said, looking directly at me, "but when you've lost love once, you learn not to waste time when you find it again. Robert gave me a second chance at happiness, and I promise I will take care of him for the rest of his life." The rest of his life. The phrase made my skin crawl. After the wedding, they went on a 2-week honeymoon to Hawaii. Dad sent me photos. Him and Victoria on the beach, snorkeling, at a luau. They looked happy. I wanted to be happy for him. I really did. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was very wrong. When they got back from the honeymoon, Victoria moved into the house permanently. All her things, all her furniture, she redecorated, got rid of a lot of Mom's stuff. "We're making it our home now," Dad explained when I got upset about Mom's favorite chair disappearing. "Where did it go?" I asked. "Goodwill," Victoria said cheerfully. "It was old and worn. We needed something fresh." That chair had been Mom's. She'd sit in it every evening, reading or grading papers. It was her chair, and Victoria had just thrown it away. That's when I started to truly understand what was happening. Victoria wasn't just Dad's new wife. She was erasing my mother from existence, and I was powerless to stop it. Okay, so you can see where this is going, right? Victoria is bad news, but it gets so much worse, like criminal activity worse. If you're hooked, hit that like button right now. Drop a comment telling me if you've ever had a stepmom or stepdad who tried to take over your family. And make sure you're subscribed, because this story has about 40 more minutes of legal drama, hidden cameras, and the most satisfying takedown you've ever seen. Let's keep going. It's about to get really interesting. About 2 months after the wedding, Dad started canceling our weekly dinners. We'd had a standing date every Sunday for years, even when Mom was sick. Even after she died, Sunday dinners were our thing. But suddenly, Dad was always busy. "Victoria and I have plans. We're going to a work event. Victoria's not feeling well, so we're staying in." Always Victoria. Always an excuse. When I did see Dad, Victoria was always there. Always. I never got time alone with him anymore. And when I tried to talk to Dad about the business, something we'd always discussed, he was teaching me about construction and commercial real estate, Victoria would interrupt. "Ugh, that's so boring," she'd say. "Let's talk about something else." Or, "Robert, you work too hard. You don't need to talk about work at home." She was cutting me out of my father's life, systematically, deliberately. I tried to talk to Dad about it privately. I called him at work. "Dad, I miss you. I feel like I never see you anymore." "I'm right here, Jess. You see me all the time." "But never alone. Victoria is always there. Can we have dinner, just the two of us?" Silence. Then, "Victoria is my wife. She's part of my life now. You need to include her." "I know, but sometimes I just want time with my dad. Is that too much to ask?" "I'll talk to Victoria and see if we can figure something out." But we never did. Dad never made time for just us. And then things got worse. I was still listed as Dad's emergency contact at his doctor's office, his work, everywhere. I was his healthcare proxy. I was the beneficiary of his life insurance. These were things he and Mom had set up years ago. One day, I got a call from Dad's assistant at work. "Hey, Jessica, I'm updating Robert's emergency contact info. He said to change it to Victoria. Just wanted to confirm." My heart sank. "Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense, I guess. She's his wife." But it hurt. I was being replaced, erased, just like Mom's chair. Then I got a letter from Dad's life insurance company. "Your policy beneficiary designation has been updated." I wasn't the beneficiary anymore. Victoria was. Okay, I thought, that's normal. Spouses are usually beneficiaries. It's fine. But then Dad's lawyer called me. "Jessica, hi. This is Thomas Brennan. I'm your father's attorney. He's asked me to draft a new will, and I wanted to give you a heads up that you'll no longer be the executor of his estate. Victoria will be." "Okay," I said slowly. "Can I ask why?" "He feels it's appropriate since Victoria is his wife now. She'll be handling all estate matters." What about my inheritance?" Pause. "I'm not at liberty to discuss the details of the will, but I wanted you to know about the executor change." That non-answer was an answer. I was being cut out of the will. I went to Dad's house, my childhood home, unannounced. I needed to talk to him without Victoria around. I got lucky. Victoria's car wasn't in the driveway. Dad was home alone. "Jess," he seemed surprised to see me. "What's going on? Can we talk? Inside? Alone?" He hesitated, then let me in. We sat in the living room. Mom's old couch was gone, replaced with a modern sectional that Victoria had chosen. "Dad, I need you to be honest with me. Are you changing your will to cut me out?" He shifted uncomfortably. "Who told you that?" "Your lawyer gave me a heads up." "Dad, why?" "It's complicated, Jess." "Then explain it to me. I'm your daughter, your only daughter. Why would you cut me out of your will?" Dad sighed. "Victoria thinks she feels like the estate should go to her since she's my wife. And honestly, it makes sense. She'll be the one taking care of things after I'm gone." "But what about me? What about everything you and Mom built? Mom wanted me to inherit the business. She wanted me to have the house. You both told me that." "That was before," Dad said quietly. "Before what? Before Mom died? Before Victoria showed up and brainwashed you?" "Don't talk about Victoria like that," Dad said, his voice hard. "Dad, please listen to yourself. You've known this woman for a year, 1 year, and you're cutting your own daughter out of your will for her?" "Victoria is my wife. She deserves to be taken care of." "And I'm your daughter. I deserve—" "You're young," Dad interrupted. "You have your whole life ahead of you. You can make your own money, build your own career. Victoria is older. She needs security. Are you serious right now? I was crying. Dad, this is Victoria manipulating you. Can't you see that? I see a daughter who's being selfish and can't accept that her father has moved on. That hurt. That hurt more than anything. Selfish? I'm being selfish? I watched Mom die. I took care of you when you were falling apart. I put my life on hold to be there for you. And now I'm being replaced by some woman who showed up at the most vulnerable time of your life and is clearly using you. Get out, Dad said quietly. What? Get out of my house. I don't want to hear this anymore. You're being disrespectful to my wife. Dad! Out. I left. I left crying. I left feeling like I'd lost my father. Because I had. After that fight with Dad, I didn't hear from him for 3 weeks. 3 weeks. The longest we'd ever gone without talking. I was devastated, but I was also angry and suspicious. Something was wrong. Something was very wrong, and I was going to figure out what. I started digging into Victoria's background. I should have done this a year ago, but better late than never. I started with social media. Victoria had Facebook and Instagram, but they only went back about 3 years. Before that, nothing. Like she didn't exist. I searched for her late husband, Charles. She said he'd been a doctor, died of cancer 2 years before she met Dad. I couldn't find any obituary, no death record, no mention of a Dr. Charles and Victoria anywhere. I widened my search, looked for marriage records, divorce records, property records, any record of Victoria. What I found was shocking. Victoria had been married before, multiple times, not to a doctor named Charles, to a businessman named Michael in California. Before that, to a man named David in Florida. Both marriages ended in divorce, and both ex-husbands had restraining orders against her. I found a court document from Michael's divorce. He accused Victoria of financial abuse, of draining his bank accounts, of forging his signature on documents. The judge had ruled in Michael's favor. Victoria had been ordered to pay restitution. There was a restraining order preventing her from contacting him. In Florida, David's case was similar. Victoria had married him, isolated him from his family, taken control of his finances, and cleaned out his accounts before filing for divorce. There was no Dr. Charles. There was no tragic cancer death. Victoria's entire backstory was a lie. She was a con artist, a professional one, and she targeted my grieving father. I printed out everything I found. Court documents, divorce records, restraining orders, photos of Victoria with her previous husbands. I called Dad. He didn't answer. I called again and again. Finally, he picked up. What, Jessica? Dad, I need to see you. It's important. It's about Victoria. I don't want to hear it. Dad, please, just give me 30 minutes. If you still think I'm crazy after I show you what I found, I'll leave you alone. I promise. Long silence. Then, fine. Come over tomorrow at noon. Victoria will be at her yoga class. I went to the house the next day with a folder full of documents. Dad let me in, arms crossed, clearly annoyed. Make it quick, he said. I laid out everything on the dining room table. Dad, Victoria lied to you about everything. Her name isn't even Victoria Chambers. It's Victoria Reeves. She's been married twice before. Both times she married wealthy men, isolated them from their families, drained their bank accounts, and left. Look. I showed him the divorce documents, the restraining orders, the court testimony from her ex-husbands. Dad looked at the documents. His face was unreadable. Dad, she's a con artist, a professional one, and she's doing the same thing to you that she did to them, isolating you from me, getting control of your finances, changing your will. She's setting up to take everything. Dad was quiet for a long time. He picked up one of the documents, read it, set it down. Where did you get these? Dad asked. Public records, court documents. It's all real, Dad. You can verify it yourself. No, Dad said, pushing the papers back toward me. No, I don't believe this. Dad, it's right there. It's documented. She lied about her past. She's a con artist. Or, Dad interrupted, she has a past she's ashamed of. People make mistakes, Jessica. People have bad marriages. That doesn't make her a con artist. But the restraining orders, filed by vindictive ex-husbands who couldn't accept that she was leaving them, Dad said. He sounded like he was reciting something Victoria had told him. Dad, please, at least talk to a lawyer. Get a professional opinion. I have a lawyer, Thomas Brennan, and he's helped Victoria and me with our estate planning. Everything is in order. Your estate planning that cuts me out, I said bitterly. Jessica, I love you, but you need to accept that Victoria is my wife and I trust her. If you can't do that, then I don't know what to tell you. So that's it? You choose her over me? I'm not choosing anyone over anyone. I'm asking you to respect my marriage. And I'm asking you to open your eyes and see that you're being scammed. Get out, Dad said. Take your conspiracy theories and get out. Dad, now. I gathered up my documents and left. I tried to warn him. He wouldn't listen. So I'd have to find another way to save him. I couldn't do this alone. I needed professional help. I hired a private investigator. His name was Marcus Chen, former detective, now ran his own investigation firm in Austin. I met him at his office and showed him everything I'd found on Victoria. I need more, I told him. I need enough evidence to prove to my father that she's scamming him, and maybe enough to press charges. Marcus looked through my documents, nodded slowly. This is good work, he said. You found a pattern. 2 previous marriages, both ending with financial abuse allegations. That's our starting point. Can you help me? Yes, but I need to be honest with you. This won't be cheap. Deep background investigations, financial forensics, surveillance, we're looking at $10,000 to $15,000 minimum. I didn't have that kind of money. I was 21, still in college, working part-time. But I had my savings, money Mom had left me in a small trust fund, about $20,000 that was supposed to help with college expenses. I'll pay it, I said, whatever it takes. Marcus took the case. Marcus worked fast. Within 2 weeks, he had a preliminary report. We met at a coffee shop. He brought a thick folder. Jessica, your instincts were right, he said. Victoria is bad news, really bad news. He laid out what he'd found. Her real name, Victoria Marie Reeves, age 38. Previous marriages, 4, not 2. I'd only found 2 of them. Criminal record, fraud charges in Nevada, dismissed. Identity theft charges in California, pled down to a misdemeanor. Current finances, multiple credit cards, all maxed out. No assets in her name. No job history in the past 5 years except consultant, which Marcus couldn't verify. Pattern, she targeted widowers and divorcees at grief support groups and online. Always men with money, always vulnerable men. She's done this at least 4 times that I can verify. Probably more, Marcus said. What happened with the other marriages? I asked. First husband, David, in Florida, she cleaned out his accounts and filed for divorce, got a settlement of $200,000. He tried to fight it, but she disappeared before he could get a lawyer involved. Second husband, Michael, in California, similar story. She isolated him from his family, got access to his accounts, transferred money out slowly over 6 months, then filed for divorce. She got caught that time, which is how he got the restraining order. But by then, most of the money was gone, hidden in offshore accounts probably. Third husband, Thomas, in Nevada, this one's interesting. He died. Heart attack. Victoria inherited everything, but his kids suspected foul play. There was an investigation, but nothing was ever proven. My blood ran cold. You think she killed him? You think it's suspicious, Marcus said carefully. A 50-year-old man in good health suddenly has a heart attack right after changing his will to leave everything to his wife of 8 months? His adult children tried to contest the will, but Victoria had covered her tracks well. She got the inheritance, about $800,000, and disappeared. Oh my God, I whispered. Fourth husband, Paul, in Arizona, she married him, started the same pattern, but he caught on faster than the others. He had a smart lawyer who helped him get a quickie annulment before she could do too much damage. Victoria disappeared before she could press charges. So my dad is number 5, I said. Yes, and based on the timeline, she's moving faster with your father than with the others. She married him within a year of meeting him. She's already changed his will. She's already isolated him from you. If history repeats itself, she's about to start draining his accounts. What do we do? I asked. We keep investigating. We gather evidence, and when we have enough, we go to the police. But will Dad believe it even then? Marcus shook his head. These kinds of con artists are very good at manipulation. Your father is emotionally attached to her. Even with evidence, he might not want to see the truth. So what do I do? We build an ironclad case, and we watch her carefully. The moment she does something illegal that we can prove, we strike. Marcus set up surveillance on Victoria. Nothing illegal, just watching her movements, documenting where she went, who she met with. I also started watching, not in a creepy stalker way, but I started paying attention to Dad's finances. Dad and I had joint access to the business accounts. He'd given me access years ago when he was teaching me about the construction company. He'd never revoked my access, probably because he forgot about it. I started checking the accounts regularly, looking for unusual transactions. At first, everything seemed normal. Payroll, vendor payments, normal business expenses. But then I noticed something odd. Small transfers to a personal account I didn't recognize. $5,000 here, $3,000 there. Nothing huge, nothing that would raise red flags with the accountant. But over 3 months, it added up to almost $50,000. The account wasn't Dad's personal account. It was a new account, opened 2 months after the wedding. I dug deeper. The account was in Dad's name, but Victoria was a co-owner. She was slowly siphoning money from the business into this account. I documented everything: screenshots, bank statements, transaction records. Marcus also found something interesting. Victoria had rented a storage unit across town in her maiden name. We don't know what's in there, Marcus said, but it's suspicious. Why would she need a storage unit that your father doesn't know about? We couldn't legally access. Marcus set up surveillance on Victoria. Nothing illegal, just watching her movements, documenting where she went, who she met with. I also started watching, not in a creepy stalker way, but I started paying attention to Dad's finances. Dad and I had joint access to the business accounts. He'd given me access years ago when he was teaching me about the construction company. He'd never revoked my access, probably because he forgot about it. I started checking the accounts regularly, looking for unusual transactions. At first, everything seemed normal. Payroll, vendor payments, normal business expenses. But then I noticed something odd. Small transfers to a personal account I didn't recognize. $5,000 here, $3,000 there. Nothing huge, nothing that would raise red flags with the accountant. But over 3 months, it added up to almost $50,000. The account wasn't Dad's personal account, it was a new account, opened 2 months after the wedding. I dug deeper. The account was in Dad's name, but Victoria was a co-owner. She was slowly siphoning money from the business into this account. I documented everything: screenshots, bank statements, transaction records. Marcus also found something interesting. Victoria had rented a storage unit across town in her maiden name. "We don't know what's in there," Marcus said, "but it's suspicious. Why would she need a storage unit that your father doesn't know about?" We couldn't legally access the storage unit without a warrant, but we could watch it. Marcus set up a camera across from the facility. We watched Victoria go there twice in 1 week. She'd bring boxes out of the house and store them. "She's hiding assets," Marcus said. "I've seen this before. She's probably moving valuables out of your father's house and stashing them somewhere he won't look. Then, when she files for divorce or he dies, she'll have already secured what she wants." This was worse than I thought. And then something happened that changed everything. Dad had a stroke. Not a massive one, thank God, but serious enough that he was hospitalized for 3 days. Victoria called to tell me. Her voice dripped with fake concern. "Jessica, your father is in St. David's Hospital. He had a stroke at work today. They're running tests, but he's stable." I rushed to the hospital. When I got there, Victoria was in Dad's room, holding his hand, playing the devoted wife. Dad was awake, but groggy. The left side of his face was slightly drooped. He had trouble speaking. "Jess," he slurred, "you came?" "Of course I came, Dad. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere." Over the next few days, I stayed at the hospital as much as I could. Victoria was always there too, but I didn't care. My dad needed me. The doctor said the stroke was mild. Dad would likely recover most of his function with therapy, but they wanted to figure out what caused it. "Has your father been under a lot of stress lately?" the doctor asked me and Victoria. "No more than usual," Victoria said quickly, but that wasn't true. Dad had been stressed, really stressed, about the business, about money, about something. I'd noticed he'd lost weight, looked tired all the time, but every time I asked if he was okay, Victoria would answer for him. The doctors ran more tests, checked his heart, his blood pressure, his cholesterol. "Mr. Morgan, have you been taking any new medications?" the doctor asked. "No," Dad said, "just my usual blood pressure meds." The doctor said, looking at his chart. "Your blood pressure has actually been high despite the medication. We might need to adjust your dosage." Something about that felt off to me. Later, when Victoria went to get coffee, I asked Dad where he kept his medications. "Victoria gives them to me. Every morning with breakfast. She makes sure I don't forget." Red flag. Huge red flag. "Dad, can I see your pill bottles?" "Why?" "Just want to check something. Medical curiosity." Dad told me where to find them, in the master bathroom medicine cabinet at home. As soon as I left the hospital that day, I went to Dad's house. I still had a key. I went straight to the master bathroom, found Dad's pill bottles. The blood pressure medication bottle was there, but when I looked at the pills inside, they didn't look right. They were blue. Dad's blood pressure pills had always been white. I took one of the pills and put it in a baggie. I'd have them analyzed. But I had a terrible suspicion. Victoria wasn't giving Dad his medication. She was giving him something else, something that was making him sick. I took the pill to Marcus. He had connections with a lab that could analyze it quickly. 2 days later, I had my answer. The pill wasn't blood pressure medication. It was a diuretic, a strong one, the kind that would raise blood pressure, not lower it. Victoria had been switching out Dad's medication. She was slowly poisoning him. This is attempted murder, Marcus said gravely, or at the very least, reckless endangerment. This is enough to go to the police. But I hesitated. If we go to the police now, Victoria will deny everything. She'll say I planted the pills. She'll say I'm trying to frame her because I don't like her. It'll be her word against mine. You have the pill. We can prove it's not the right medication. But we can't prove she's the one who switched them. We need more. We need something definitive. Marcus nodded slowly. You're right. We need to catch her in the act. How? Hidden cameras, Marcus said, in your father's house, specifically in the bathroom and kitchen where she prepares his medication. If we can get video of her switching the pills, we have her. Isn't that illegal? I asked. It's a gray area, Marcus admitted. Texas is a one-party consent state for recording, which means as long as one person in the conversation knows about the recording, it's legal. But secret cameras in someone's home without their knowledge is trickier. Dad could give permission, I said. He just doesn't know he needs to yet. Or, Marcus said slowly, we don't tell him. We install the cameras, get the evidence, and then use it to save his life. He might be mad, but he'll be alive. I thought about it. It was a risk. Dad might never forgive me, but if I didn't do it, Victoria might kill him. Let's do it, I said. Okay, so we're about to catch Victoria in the act of poisoning my dad. This is intense, I know. If you're on the edge of your seat right now, hit that like button. Drop a comment telling me what you would do in this situation. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now because the next 20 minutes are going to blow your mind. This is where everything comes together. Let's go. Marcus got the cameras. Tiny ones. You'd never notice them unless you knew they were there. The hard part was installing them without Victoria knowing. We waited until Dad was released from the hospital. Victoria threw a little welcome home gathering at the house. Some of Dad's friends from work, some of Victoria's friends. During the gathering, I volunteered to help in the kitchen. Victoria was busy playing hostess in the living room. I slipped upstairs. Marcus had given me 2 cameras, one for the bathroom, one for the bedroom where Victoria kept her purse and personal items. I installed the bathroom camera inside an air freshener on the counter. Perfect view of the medicine cabinet. The bedroom camera went inside a picture frame on the dresser. The cameras were motion activated and would record to a secure cloud server that only Marcus and I could access. I went back downstairs, acted normal, helped serve food, pretended everything was fine. Now we waited. The next morning, Marcus called me at 6 a.m. We got her, he said. I went to his office immediately. He pulled up the footage on his computer. There was Victoria, clear as day, in the bathroom. She opened the medicine cabinet, took out Dad's blood pressure medication bottle, emptied the pills into the sink, refilled the bottle with different pills from her purse, put the bottle back in the cabinet. That's not all, Marcus said. He pulled up more footage. Victoria in the bedroom counting cash, lots of cash, bundling it up and putting it in a shopping bag. Victoria on her laptop logged into what looked like bank accounts, transferring money. Victoria on the phone. Yes, the storage unit is secure. He doesn't know about it. I'll have everything moved out before Christmas. Christmas was 2 months away. She was planning her exit. We have her, Marcus said. This is enough for the police. Attempted poisoning, theft, fraud, everything. What do we do? I asked. We make copies of everything, we organize the evidence, and tomorrow we go to the police and file a report. What about Dad? Should we tell him first? Marcus shook his head. Not until the police are involved. If we tell him now, he'll warn Victoria, and she'll run. We can't let that happen. I agreed. As much as I wanted to tell Dad, we had to do this right. The next day, Marcus and I went to the Austin Police Department. We asked to speak to a detective in the fraud division. We met with Detective Sarah Rodriguez, mid-40s, sharp eyes, no-nonsense attitude. We laid out everything: the background on Victoria, her previous marriages, the pattern of financial abuse, the switched medications, the video evidence, the financial records showing money being siphoned from Dad's business. Detective Rodriguez watched the videos, read through our documents. "This is substantial," she said. "You've done a lot of the work for us. But I need to warn you, cases like this can be complicated. Your father is married to this woman. He might not cooperate with the investigation." "Even if she's poisoning him?" I asked. "Even then," Detective Rodriguez said, "victims of this kind of manipulation often defend their abusers, but we'll do our best." She took all our evidence, said she'd open an investigation. "What happens now?" I asked. "We'll verify your evidence, interview witnesses, get warrants for Victoria's financial records and the storage unit. Once we have everything we need, we'll bring her in for questioning. If everything checks out, and it looks like it will, we'll arrest her." "How long will that take?" "A week, maybe 2. These things take time." "And my dad? Should I tell him?" Detective Rodriguez thought about it. "Not yet. Let us do our investigation first. Once we have the arrest warrant, we'll notify your father. Until then, keep this quiet. We don't want to tip Victoria off." I agreed, but it was hard, so hard, knowing what I knew and not being able to warn Dad. The next 2 weeks were torture. I had to act normal, had to pretend I didn't know anything. I saw Dad once during that time. He was looking better after the stroke. His speech was back to normal. The drooping in his face was gone. But he was still taking those pills. Victoria was still giving them to him every morning. I wanted to scream. I wanted to knock the pills out of his hand. But I couldn't. Not yet. "You look stressed, Jess," Dad said. "Everything okay?" "Just school stuff. Finals coming up." "You work too hard, Jess. You should take a break. Maybe come over for dinner this week." "Maybe," I said. Victoria appeared then, putting her hand on Dad's shoulder. "Robert, we should get going. We have that appointment." "What appointment?" I asked. "Just some estate planning stuff," Dad said vaguely. Estate planning. She was still working on locking down his assets. I wanted to tell him so badly, but I bit my tongue. "Okay, well, I'll see you soon, Dad. I love you." "Love you too, kiddo." 2.5 weeks after we filed the police report, Detective Rodriguez called me. "We're executing the arrest warrant tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. We'll be going to your father's house. We wanted to give you a heads up." "Is Dad going to be there?" I asked. "Yes, we'll need to speak with him too. You should probably be there. He's going to need support." I barely slept that night. At 6:45 a.m., I parked down the street from Dad's house. I watched 3 police cars pull up at exactly 7 a.m. Detective Rodriguez and 4 other officers went to the door. They knocked. I saw Dad answer. He looked confused. I got out of my car and walked up the driveway. "Jessica?" Dad looked even more confused seeing me there. "Mr. Morgan, I'm Detective Rodriguez. We have a warrant for the arrest of Victoria Morgan. Is she here?" "Arrest?" Dad looked shocked. "What? Why?" Victoria appeared behind Dad. When she saw the police, her face went white. "Victoria Morgan, you're under arrest for fraud, theft, and attempted poisoning," Detective Rodriguez said, pulling out handcuffs. "This is ridiculous," Victoria said, but her voice was shaking. "I haven't done anything." "You have the right to remain silent." Victoria was handcuffed, led to a police car. She looked at me as they walked past. "You," she hissed. "You did this." "Yeah, I did." Dad grabbed my arm. "Jessica, what the hell is going on?" "Dad, we need to talk," I said. "Inside, please." Inside the house, with Detective Rodriguez present, I told Dad everything about Victoria's past, her previous marriages, the cons she'd been running on him, about the switched medications, the poisoning, about the money she'd been stealing, about the storage unit full of his belongings. Dad sat on the couch, silent, as I laid it all out. Detective Rodriguez showed him some of the evidence, the videos, the financial records. When I finished, Dad looked at me with tears in his eyes. "You're telling me she was poisoning me?" "Yes," I said. "We have it on video. She was switching your blood pressure medication with diuretics. That's what caused your stroke, Dad. She made you sick." "But why? Why would she do that?" "Money," I said simply. "She wanted your money. And based on the pattern with her previous husbands, once she'd secured the assets, she either filed for divorce or worse." "Worse?" Dad's voice was small. "Her third husband died suddenly," Detective Rodriguez said gently. "Heart attack. Right after changing his will. We're looking into that case again." Dad put his head in his hands. "Oh, God. Oh, my God." "Mr. Morgan, I know this is a lot to process," Detective Rodriguez said, "but we're going to need you to give a statement, and we'll need your cooperation with the investigation." "Of course," Dad said numbly. "Whatever you need." After the detective left, it was just me and Dad. "I'm sorry," I said. "I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner. I tried, but you wouldn't listen. And then we needed evidence before we could go to the police, and—" "You saved my life," Dad interrupted. He was crying now. "If you hadn't investigated, if you hadn't found out, she would have killed me, just like she killed that other man." "We don't know for sure she killed him, though I suspected it." "Jessica," Dad looked at me. "I'm sorry. I'm so, so sorry. You tried to warn me, and I didn't listen. I chose her over you. I cut you out of my will. I pushed you away. How can you ever forgive me?" I sat next to him on the couch. "You were grieving, Dad. She took advantage of that. She's a professional predator. You're not the first person she's fooled, and you wouldn't have been the last." "But I should have listened to you." "Yeah," I said, "you should have. But I understand why you didn't. She was good. Really good." "What happens now?" Dad asked. "Now, Victoria goes to trial, and we figure out how to fix the damage she did." The police got a warrant for Victoria's storage unit. Dad and I went with Detective Rodriguez to see what was inside. When they opened the unit, I gasped. It was full of Dad's things. Mom's jewelry, family heirlooms, expensive artwork that had hung in our house, Dad's coin collection that Grandpa had left him, photo albums, important documents. "She was staging a robbery," Marcus explained. "He'd come with us too. She would have called the police, reported that your house had been broken into, that all these valuables were stolen. Insurance fraud on top of everything else." Dad walked through the unit, picking up items, touching them like he couldn't believe they were real. Dad found Mom's wedding ring, the one she'd worn for 25 years. Victoria had taken it from Dad's bedroom after he'd kept it in a special box. Dad clutched the ring and broke down crying. The first thing Dad did was contact his lawyer, Thomas Brennan. "Thomas, I need to reverse everything I did with Victoria. The will, the power of attorney, all of it." "Already working on it," Thomas said. Turns out he'd had doubts about Victoria too, but Dad wouldn't listen. "I documented everything carefully just in case this happened." Within a week, Dad's will was changed back. I was the beneficiary again, the executor again. The bank accounts that Victoria had access to were frozen pending the criminal investigation. The joint account where she'd been stashing stolen money was seized by the police as evidence. Dad also filed for an annulment. In Texas, you can get an annulment if the marriage was based on fraud, and Victoria's entire relationship with Dad had been fraudulent. The annulment was granted within a month. Dad and Victoria's marriage was legally erased, like it never happened. Victoria was denied bail. She was considered a flight risk, given her history of disappearing after scamming people. She hired a lawyer, a good one, expensive. Where is she getting the money for that lawyer? I asked Detective Rodriguez. Probably from previous scams, she said. We're investigating her finances, but it's complicated. She's good at hiding money. The prosecutor's office started building their case. They wanted Dad and me to testify. We agreed. They also tracked down Victoria's previous victims. Michael from California agreed to testify. David from Florida did too. They even managed to get Paul from Arizona, the one who'd gotten the annulment, to come testify. This woman has destroyed lives, the prosecutor told me. Your testimony could help put her away for a very long time. They were charging Victoria with attempted murder for the poisoning, fraud for the financial scams, theft for stealing from Dad's business, forgery for the forged documents, insurance fraud for the staged robbery plan. If convicted on all counts, she was looking at 20 to 30 years in prison. Victoria's defense strategy was predictable: play the victim. Her lawyer argued that Victoria was in a controlling, abusive relationship with Dad, that Dad had manipulated her, not the other way around. They claimed the switched medication was an honest mistake. Victoria had grabbed the wrong pills by accident. They claimed the financial transfers were gifts from Dad, that he'd given her permission to move assets around. They even tried to claim that the hidden cameras in the house were illegal and that the evidence should be thrown out. The judge disagreed. The cameras were in Dad's house, and while the legality was murky, the evidence of attempted murder was too serious to ignore based on a technicality. The evidence was allowed. Victoria's lawyer tried to paint me as a jealous daughter who couldn't accept her father's new relationship, who'd fabricated evidence to break them up. But the evidence was too strong. The video didn't lie. The financial records didn't lie. The testimony from her previous victims showed a clear pattern. Still, trials are unpredictable. There was always a chance Victoria could walk away. When it was my turn to testify, I was terrified. I'd never been in a courtroom before, never testified before. The prosecutor asked me to tell my story, from the beginning, how Victoria entered our lives, how she isolated Dad, how she changed the will, how I investigated her. I spoke for over an hour, told the jury everything. Then came cross-examination. Victoria's lawyer tried to rattle me. Isn't it true, Miss Morgan, that you never liked Victoria from the moment you met her? That's true, I said. My instincts told me something was wrong about her. Your instincts, or your jealousy that your father had found someone new? My instincts, I said firmly. My mother had only been dead a year. Victoria was moving too fast, asking too many questions about money, isolating my father from his friends and family. Those are red flags. Or they're normal behaviors for a woman in a new relationship. They're also behaviors of a con artist, I shot back, which is what she is. The lawyer tried to trip me up, but I stayed calm. I had the truth on my side. When I stepped down from the witness stand, I looked at Victoria. She was staring at me with pure hatred. Good. I wanted her to know I wasn't backing down. We're almost at the verdict, the moment where Victoria either goes to prison or walks free. If you've been watching this whole time, thank you. Hit that like button to show your support. Comment and tell me what you think the verdict should be. And make sure you're subscribed because you're about to see justice served. Let's finish this. The trial lasted 3 weeks. The jury deliberated for 2 days. When they came back with the verdict, the courtroom was packed. Me, Dad, Marcus, Detective Rodriguez, Victoria's previous victims, reporters, everyone. The judge asked the jury foreman to read the verdict. On the count of attempted murder, guilty. Victoria's face went white. On the count of fraud in the first degree, guilty. On the count of theft, guilty. On the count of forgery, guilty. On the count of conspiracy to commit insurance fraud, guilty. Guilty on all counts. Victoria started crying. Her lawyer was trying to comfort her, but she pushed him away. The judge set sentencing for 2 weeks later. Outside the courtroom, Dad hugged me tight. "Thank you," he whispered. "Thank you for not giving up on me." At sentencing, the judge let the victims speak. Michael from California talked about how Victoria had destroyed his trust in people, how he'd lost everything and had to rebuild from scratch. David from Florida talked about how his children didn't speak to him for years because Victoria had poisoned them against him. I spoke too. I talked about watching my father nearly die, about being cut out of my own family, about fighting to save him. Dad spoke. He talked about the betrayal, about how Victoria had preyed on his grief, about how she dishonored the memory of his late wife. Then it was Victoria's turn. Her lawyer advised her to show remorse, to apologize. Instead, Victoria stood up and said, "I regret nothing. Robert Morgan is a weak man who deserved what he got. His daughter is a vindictive brat who couldn't stand to see her father happy. I'm the victim here." The courtroom gasped. Even her lawyer looked shocked. The judge's face hardened. "Miss Reeves," the judge said coldly, "you have shown no remorse, no understanding of the severity of your crimes. You targeted vulnerable people, stole from them, and in Mr. Morgan's case, nearly killed him. The court finds you to be a danger to society." The judge sentenced Victoria to 25 years in prison. She'd be eligible for parole in 15 years, but only if she showed genuine rehabilitation. Victoria was led out of the courtroom in handcuffs, screaming about how unfair it all was. Dad and I just watched. It was finally over. After the trial, we had to clean up the financial mess Victoria had left behind. She'd stolen about $200,000 from Dad's business over the year and a half they were together. Some of it was recovered from the accounts that were frozen. Some of it was gone, probably hidden in offshore accounts we'd never find. Dad's accountant and lawyer worked to restructure the business finances, make sure everything was above board, fix the tax issues Victoria had created. The house had to be cleansed of Victoria's presence. We got rid of all the furniture she'd brought in, repainted the walls, made it feel like home again. I found Mom's chair, the one Victoria had supposedly donated to Goodwill. Turns out she'd put it in the storage unit, probably planning to sell it. We brought it back home, put it in its old spot. Dad sat in it and cried. "I'm sorry, Patricia," he whispered to Mom's memory. "I'm so sorry I let that woman into our home, into our lives." Dad went back to therapy, heavy therapy. He needed to process everything that had happened. The therapist diagnosed him with PTSD from the experience. He had nightmares, trust issues, anxiety. "I let a predator into my life," Dad said in one of our conversations. "I ignored all the warning signs. I ignored my own daughter. How do I forgive myself for that?" "You were grieving," I reminded him. "Victoria is a professional. She knew exactly how to manipulate you. You're not the first person she fooled, and you weren't going to be the last." "But you saw through her," Dad said. "Why couldn't I?" "Because I wasn't emotionally involved," I said. "I could see her objectively. You couldn't. That's not your fault." It took time, but slowly Dad started to heal. He rejoined his old friend group that Victoria had isolated him from. He got back into his hobbies. He focused on work. And most importantly, he worked on rebuilding his relationship with me. It took time, but Dad and I found our way back to each other. We started having weekly dinners again, just the two of us. No Victoria, no drama, just father and daughter. We talked about Mom, really talked about her, something we hadn't done much since she died. I think I rushed into things with Victoria because I couldn't handle the grief. Dad admitted one night. Your mom was my whole world. When she died, I didn't know how to exist without her. And Victoria, she filled that void, or I thought she did. Mom would want you to be happy, but she'd also want you to be smart about it, to take your time, to not let someone take advantage of you. I know, Dad said, and I will be. If I ever date again, and that's a big if, I'll be careful. I'll listen to you. I'll do background checks. I'll take it slow. Good, I said. Dad also brought me back into the business, not just as someone with access to the accounts, but as a real partner. I want you to learn this business, really learn it, because one day it'll be yours, and I want to make sure you're ready. We started spending time at construction sites together again. He taught me about contracts, about managing crews, about client relations. It was nice. It felt like before Mom got sick, before Victoria, just me and Dad. After the trial, Marcus finished his investigation. He'd kept digging into Victoria's past, trying to tie up loose ends. He found 2 more previous victims we hadn't known about. Both were too embarrassed to report what happened. Both were relieved to hear Victoria was finally behind bars. He also got answers about Victoria's 3rd husband, Thomas from Nevada, the one who died of a heart attack. I contacted the original medical examiner. I explained the case, showed them the pattern of behavior. They agreed to reopen the investigation. And they exhumed the body, ran new toxicology tests with modern equipment, found traces of a rare poison that mimics a heart attack symptoms. It wouldn't have been detected in the original autopsy because they weren't looking for it. Oh my God, I breathed. She really did kill him. Yes, the Nevada DA is filing charges posthumously. Victoria will likely face additional charges for that murder. She could get life in prison now. Justice. Finally. It's been 2 years since Victoria was sentenced. 2 years since that nightmare ended. Dad is doing well. He's healthy, happy. He's dating someone new. A woman named Carol, who he met through friends. She's age-appropriate, has her own career, her own money, and most importantly, she's been thoroughly vetted by both me and a background check company. They're taking it slow, really slow, and Carol understands why. I finished my degree at UT Austin, graduated with honors. I'm working for Dad's construction company now, full-time, learning the business, getting ready to take over one day. I also started a blog about my experience, about recognizing con artists, about protecting elderly and vulnerable people from financial predators. It's gotten pretty popular. I've even done some speaking engagements. As for Victoria, she's in prison, where she belongs. She'll be eligible for parole in 2036, but with the new murder charges from Nevada, she might never get out. Sometimes I think about her. Wonder if she feels any remorse. Wonder if she understands the harm she caused. Probably not. People like Victoria don't change. But I don't worry about her anymore. She can't hurt us. She can't hurt anyone else. We won. Thank you so much for watching this entire story. Family drama, legal battles, and finally, justice. If this story helped you in any way, if it taught you to trust your instincts or to look out for vulnerable loved ones, then I'm glad I shared it. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. This channel is dedicated to real family drama stories where the good guys actually win sometimes. Smash that like button if you're glad Victoria got what she deserved. And comment below, have you or anyone you know dealt with a step-parent who tried to take over? Or a family member who was targeted by a con artist? Tell me your story. You're not alone. Also, if you want more content like this, check out the videos on screen right now. More family drama, more justice, more truth. Take care of yourselves, protect your loved ones, trust your instincts, and remember, when something feels wrong, it probably is. Don't ignore those red flags. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.